Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey and welcome to r/Am I the Arsehole, a subreddit where people post about recent conflicts they've been in and then the Reddit community decides whether or not they've been the arsehole in that situation. Now this may change to me saying am I the butthole if my videos end up getting monetized, but they're not for now, so let's just crack on with it. Am I the arsehole for forcing my high earning profession on the teacher on Parents' Day? Please forgive my English, it's my second language. I, 54 male, have 3 kids in high school. My wife has a lot of work to do, so I decided to attend a virtual Parents' Day with a physics and maths teacher, 40-something female, yesterday. She's a special teacher who has an attitude towards parents. She is into social justice and refuses to be informed about the parents' professions. Her reasoning is that many studies have shown that teachers tend to lose their objectivity as soon as they know the social status and the degrees of the parents. The study she's referred to when introducing her policy showed that teachers give worse grades to kids from migrant families and lower income parents and tend to overestimate kids from intelligent and high earning parents. Whatever, I think she's exaggerating since all the other teachers know what field we work in and give my kids good grades. 16's teacher told me that his grades were dropping since fall when she started teaching his class and that she's very concerned about his studies. He will have to repeat the year since his grades are so bad. I was forgetful and told her since I am an empirical economist and his mother is a mathematician, we would be able to help our son. Numbers and calculating are in his blood. There is no way he will repeat the school year. She told me, Mr. Blank, I don't appreciate your indiscretion. For objectivity, I don't allow myself to have an insight into your profession. Your job is nothing to do with your son's grades. I will consider this incident an attempted manipulation. The next time this happens, I will consult the principal. I ended a video call and texted other parents. I wanted to know if their kids' grades in maths and physics dropped as well. Maybe it's the teacher's fault. Today I told my son about the conversation and he was acting ashamed. He was screaming at me about how I used my privilege to get him better grades. Dad, you were constantly embarrassing me. I think I'm in the right by reminding his teacher about what family he comes from and that it is impossible for him to have such bad grades. My wife and son think I'm being petty. Am I the asshole? So I had a quick look through the comments and not a single person said that this guy wasn't an asshole, and I have to absolutely agree with them. All this bottles down to is the fact that this guy is sabotaging his own child's education based on nothing but his own ego. Like the fact that he was saying, oh, it's impossible for my kid to have bad grades because blah blah blah. You really need to be looking into why if that's the case. Like if your kid is struggling at school, then you need to say, okay, let's help them. I mean, of course, if you have a mathematics background and the kid is struggling with maths, then you can sit down with the kid and say, right, what are you struggling with? Let me explain it to you. However, just to say that it's outright impossible and that the teacher must be wrong or the teacher must be doing poorly, I mean, fair enough, the teacher might be. It might be that the teacher's not teaching well enough, which, yeah, you need to look into that possibility if that's the case. But if it's not, then you're actively damaging your kid's education by refusing to acknowledge that there might be something wrong. And if he doesn't get the help that he needs in maths, then that molehill is gonna become a mountain pretty quickly. Also, the entitledness of it's in his blood. No, it's not. Talents, education, skills, studying, none of that is genetic. It all comes down to hard work, personal preferences. One of the comments actually says here, my father is a published writer, so it's in my blood, right? Wrong. I can't write shit to save my life. I'm a logical thinker that's good with maths, and I cook for a living because I love doing it. My brother could within a couple of days learn a new instrument. Neither of my parents had ever played any instrument. Exactly! This is the point, is that it's absolutely not genetic, and it's weird that, especially considering his background is in maths and economics, that he's trying to act like there's some strange genetic reason for it. Also, I have to say that I agree with the teacher. I think the whole not wanting to know what the parents do for a living is a good way of going about it. Like, it reminds me of the whole thing where they wouldn't have kids' names on the top of the test, but just have a number, because even something like a name can cause unconscious bias to come out. So I think that that's a good idea. But he seems weirdly offended by that, and it's like, well, social studies aren't your strong point. You know, if your strong point is economics, then you need to stay with that. And there's also the fact that he was complaining. He said, oh, the studies she referred to say that teachers tend to overestimate kids from intelligent and high-earning parents, and then later on said, whatever, I think she is exaggerated since all the other teachers know what field we work in and give my kids good grades. You're proving her study right there. What are you doing? He was just trying to flex in an attempt to bribe his way into good grades, which is really damaging for the kid's education. Like, as a father, you should be a lot more responsible for how your kid is going to do in school, and the fact that he's just trying to bribe or like boast his way into good grades is absolutely shocking, and I'm not surprised that the kid is embarrassed. Am I the asshole for being appalled that my fiance spent $20,000 on an engagement ring? My fiance and I have been together for 3 years, and yesterday he made dinner, set up candles, and designed a whole romantic evening for us, and then asked me to marry him. I of course said yes. He got me a Tiffany's ring, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The stone is huge. It was big enough that I had to ask how much it cost, because I sent him a couple of rings that I liked the style of, so he didn't go off into la la land buying a ring I wouldn't like. All of the rings I had sent him had modest-sized stones. He told me it cost $20,000. I honestly didn't know what to say. That's just a ridiculous amount to spend on a ring. For him it does fall under the 2-month salary rule, but it's just beyond stupid to spend that much on a ring. I'm obviously very happy that he wanted to get me something nice, but that's just irresponsible. I told him that $20,000 was way too much to spend, and he should take it back and return it and get something in a similar style that's 1/20th of the price. He said he couldn't just return it and that I should be happy that he was willing to spend that much. Don't get me wrong, I am, but again, it's just beyond ridiculous. He's not a billionaire, and there are much better things to spend money on. I gave him the ring back and told him to get his money back. Today he seemed down all day and I suspect it was about the ring, and now I feel like an asshole. Am I the asshole? Okay, so first and foremost, I have to say that I agree with OP that $20,000 is way too much to spend on an engagement ring. I don't know whether it's just because I grew up frugally, but when I proposed to my fiancée, the ring cost £50, and that was about as much as I was willing to spend at the time, and it was as much as she was willing to have me spend as well, because this OP was clearly expecting the proposal. Now, I think that proposal should always be expected, even if you don't know exactly how it's going to happen. People still need to have talks about, do you see me as someone that you would like to marry before they actually go into the whole planning, which is great. She actually sent him a few rings before saying, look, this is the kind of style I like. And from what I can tell, those wouldn't have been as much as $20,000. It's not what she would have been expecting. So he would have had a clear idea as to what she wanted. I'm wondering, are they actually talking about finances? Because $20,000 clearly isn't that much to this guy. I wish I even had $20,000 in my bank account, let alone to just spend on the ring. But they really need to start talking about finances. Finances are a really important part of any relationship or any part of life, to be honest, and they need to make sure that they're on the same level. I think a lot of this came from them not quite being on the same level, in the same way that it seems that she was offended that he spent that much money on her, in the same way that some people would be offended if they didn't spend enough, and I think that that's valid. I think that they really need to have a conversation as to what's expected out of the relationship in order for them to have a full, healthy, happy one. Otherwise, situations like this may crop up again. But also, she actually said, for him, it does fall under the 2-month salary rule. Now, if you're not familiar, that rule is that if you propose to someone, the ring should cost 2 months' worth of salary, which I think is absolute bollocks. Like I said, the ring that I bought cost £50. Like, I don't earn £25 a month. I am okay in that regard. But the whole 2 months of salary myth came from De Beers, who, if you don't know, this was in the 1930s. De Beers jewelers, who are one of the biggest purveyors of diamonds in the world, have been going since 1888. It was just a rule that was made up in order for this high-end jewelers to make more money. We should definitely not be listening to it, especially not nearly 100 years after they created that rule. I do think that insisting that he take it back and buy something else is a bit harsh. I mean, clearly he was expecting this to go well. I don't think that the OP is the arsehole. The OP was actually voted to be the arsehole in this situation by the Reddit community. It seems that a lot of them are just thinking, why aren't you grateful for this lovely ring? And, I can understand that mindset as well. But if she's not comfortable with that, and he should have known that she would have been comfortable with that, then I think that this is a situation where communication is key. They need to start talking to one another and making sure that they're on the same level in terms of finances. Insisting he take it back is probably a little bit harsh. Again, she says he's not a billionaire, but he's still quite financially comfortable. I don't know if this is gonna be an issue for them. But again, I don't think that OP is the asshole in this situation. If you disagree with me, then feel free to let me know in the comments. I know that Reddit does disagree with me, so, you know, there are different ways to view the situation, I think. But overall, I think communicate with each other, make sure that you both know what you're expecting out of the relationship, and yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that does include finances. Would I be the asshole if I made my daughter break up a friendship? My daughter, we'll call her Lily, is 14 and she is in a wheelchair. She made a new friend, Barbara, also 14, earlier in the school year, who also uses a wheelchair, and they become very close. Barbara has, in a way, strayed mine and Lily's once very close relationship. She thinks Lily should be able to hang out more outside of school with other friends, but I can't risk anything happening to my daughter with zero adult supervision, so I've had to say no. Barbara has come to our house several times before the virus, and I can just tell that she puts things in my daughter's head about me, and I'm not comfortable with it at all, but my husband wants to encourage the friendship. So Lily has been talking to Barbara a lot during this isolation period, over the phone and internet, and she told me today that she'd prefer it if I don't call her a special needs child anymore to family, my friends, or basically anyone else. She's never expressed this concern to me before, and I asked her what's wrong with what I've said, and she said she would prefer to use the term /identify as disabled. Special needs is apparently an old-fashioned and offensive term now. Now, I know that Barbara must have put some ideas into her head. I don't think special needs is a bad word at all. It's the only way I've ever described Lily. So while I did tell her I would think about it, I don't think I can do it, and only because I feel like she was manipulated into this decision. My husband thinks I should suck it up and do what our daughter wishes, and Lily has given me the silent treatment since talking to me. I'm close to letting her know that she's not to talk to Barbara anymore. I feel that that would release a lot of tension, if not right away, definitely in the future. Would I be the asshole? So the OP for this one was labelled an asshole, and rightfully so. The post is essentially, would I be the asshole if I abused my daughter? And yes, you absolutely would. Now, before I go into what made me really angry about it, I will validate one of the concerns that she had, and that was one that she sort of elaborated in the comments about, saying that one of the concerns she has about her daughter is the fact that she has weak upper arm strength and often needs assistance when manoeuvring her wheelchair. And one of the reasons that she doesn't want her to go out without supervision is the fact that she's worried that she's going to get stuck or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, disabled children become disabled adults, and they're going to have to learn how to navigate the outside world alone. And if she has friends, especially another friend in a wheelchair, that maybe, you know, are aware of her condition and aware of a little extra help that she might need if they go to hang out at the cinema or whatever, then that shouldn't be a problem at all, especially if she has a phone so that she can contact home if she needs. So I think that is a little bit overprotectiveness at the best. At the worst, it is full-on narcissistic abuse. So if we look into it, she says that she doesn't want to call her daughter disabled because she doesn't think that special needs is a bad word at all. Now, I was considering going into why some people prefer the term disabled over special needs, but when it comes to it, it doesn't actually matter what I or what people generally think. It's what the person who is being called this wants. So it's all about what Lily wants. And as Lily has said that she wants to be called disabled and she doesn't want to be called special needs, that is totally valid, and she should be called what she wants. But the fact that her mother said, oh, I said I would think about it, but I don't think I will because I think she was manipulated, that is so unhealthy, because it's flat out saying, I'm not going to respect your decisions about your own identity, when it's not OP's identity, it's Lily's identity. And if she wants to be a good mother, then she needs to really respect that. But also, I think that the main concern that she has isn't the overprotectiveness about her disabled daughter, but it seems that she's treating her daughter more like property than a human being that she's trying to bring into this world and help navigate the world and hopefully raise to be a fully functioning, happy adult. You know, she's saying that she can't go out with friends. She's trying to ban her from talking to Barbara because, as she said, we are not close anymore. That is going to harm the relationship so much. She's showing that she doesn't respect her daughter's identity. She's showing that she doesn't respect any friendships that she has, and all it is going to do is it's going to make the daughter realise that she can't trust her mother, make her a little bit sneakier in the ways that she meets people, and that's when it gets dangerous, because if she has to keep it quiet and be underhanded, that's when she could be going on social media and maybe meeting people that don't have her best interests at heart. So if she wants to be like a stable support role for her daughter, then she needs to support her friendships. It would be one thing if perhaps Barbara was doing something that was genuinely unhealthy, that she was worried about, or that it could be dangerous. But no, all she's saying is she's saying bad things about me. The thing is that I hate to break it to you, but 14-year-olds are going to do that. I was raised by the most amazing dad in the world, but when I was 14, I was going on MySpace going, oh, my dad's so mean to me, he wouldn't let me play my game for an extra hour. You know, it's hormones, it's part of puberty, it's what happens. You're going to have to accept that at some point you're going to have a teenager screaming at you that you're the worst person in the world, and then an hour later crying because they didn't mean it really. You know, that's part of puberty. It sucks, but it's just part of life. And she can't accept that. And like I said, she does go on in the comments, but the fact that she goes, I feel like she's poisoning my daughter against me. No, I think the problem is that your daughter is now coming to terms with how messed up you are in terms of raising her, and only now is she realising that it's not okay, and she needs these extra support networks in order to be able to deal with that. Just banning her from having, the safe spaces that she needs during this time is really unhealthy. It's really unhealthy for the daughter, and it really strongly feels like this OP is putting her personal, well, I won't say needs, but her desires, her wants of being admired as this wonderful mother or whatever, she's putting them above the needs of her daughter. She is putting her own views about herself above the needs of her daughter. I think this is absolutely horrible. I feel so bad for the daughter in this situation. I really hope that she does get a support network. Unfortunately, I did have a little look through the comments to see where OP replied, and she isn't really taking anything anybody said on board. She is pulling this whole, oh, well, I think she's manipulating my daughter against me. Like, they're 14. They're gonna say bad stuff about their parents. It's what 14-year-olds do, and she can't accept that about her daughter. She's either sort of there's a mix of infantilizing her daughter, but also trying to make her grow up too fast and sort of realize what she wants as a mother. Like, you're gonna have to accept that she's a teenager. That's just part of child rearing, unfortunately. And again, the whole she's putting ideas into her head, it's just, there's so much real nasty manipulation. I wouldn't be surprised if the daughter ended up on one of these r/raised by narcissists users later on. And if the mother truly cared about her relationship with her daughter, then she wouldn't stop this friendship from happening, because all she's doing, like I said before, is showing her daughter that she's not someone that she can trust. She's not someone that she can turn to, rather. She's not someone who will be there for her when she needs. She's someone that is putting her own feelings, or rather her own views on the perfect, family life above her own daughter. Am I the asshole for letting my friend publicly humiliate my brother-in-law in front of dozens? Husband thinks I should take some responsibility. Obligatory throwaway, and also this happened about a year ago. It's resurfacing again because brother-in-law has made it a point to ignore me, and since my husband wants me to apologise once and for all. So, some background. My brother-in-law, 43, sees himself as an expert in all things and grew up with the kind of family that always praised him for being brilliant. He's really not. Personally, I've always disliked him because he's arrogant and always calls me over-emotional when I disagree with him on anything. Instead of owning up to his mistakes when he's caught, he'll also pretend like he never said it, or you just misunderstood him, or you're too irrational for him to continue the conversation. On our anniversary dinner last year, brother-in-law was sat close to me, and further down the table was one of my good friends who happened to be in town. Well, he was spouting some major bullshit about stock markets this time. He had just got really into investing, and none of us really knew what he was talking about. I couldn't pinpoint why it was wrong, but it all sounded pretty made up to me. This is the part where I could have been the asshole. So my friend is actually a fairly famous financial strategist. She has been watching stock markets for over 2 decades. She's constantly on TV, and her face has been on the cover of industry magazines. Anyways, I asked brother-in-law to repeat what he said to my friend. She was too far away to hear organically. I definitely did channel that initial conversation, and I did not introduce her as an expert. I won't drone on, but you can imagine what happened. My friend refuted a few of his points fairly nicely, correcting some of his glaring misconception. He then blew up, told her to stop misquoting him and read more, and she finally dropped the bomb of what she does for a living. He mumbles about everyone overreacting over things he supposedly never said, despite everyone hearing him say those things minutes earlier, then staying quiet. It was glorious to see, but it was also pretty apparent brother-in-law was beyond humiliated because he made a lame excuse about how his stomach hurt and left dinner not 15 minutes later. It's been a long time now, but brother-in-law avoids me like the plague and my husband wants us to resolve things. He thinks I should take the initiative and apologise because I was the one that started it by redirecting the conversation to someone I knew would be an expert over brother-in-law. Am I the arsehole for what I did? I didn't need to make that conversation happen, but it seemed so perfect at the time I couldn't resist. But I admit, had I not done it, none of this would be happening, and it does feel petty looking back. Am I the arsehole? So that was really entertaining to read, and I really wish I could have been there for the conversation where the brother-in-law was just absolutely put in his place. So Opie did elaborate a little bit in the comments. She said that while her brother-in-law was blabbering on about stocks, she actually said, "Oh, my friend looks at that a lot. Friend, brother-in-law is looking at stocks too. What do you think about what brother-in-law just said?" So she did introduce her as an expert, but she did mention that she was looking at the same stuff, so he should have been aware that he may be talking to someone that might know a little bit more than him. But the problem is that this guy's ego, this guy's sense of self is just so high that he couldn't possibly consider that someone may know more about him in another field. It is absolutely ridiculous, and he definitely deserved it. What I don't understand is, why is the husband trying to make her apologize? Like, this is what I find a little bit frustrating, is that the brother-in-law wouldn't have ended up this way if it hadn't been for the family coddling him. The husband in this situation, which I guess is his brother, is also part of the problem. Like, he would have ended up being such a "I know more than everyone else and everyone has to listen to me" if they didn't just blindly accept this behaviour. And it is unacceptable. Like, the fact that he actively gaslights people, like the fact that he says that, "Oh, I didn't say that," or "You're misunderstanding me," that's gaslighting. That's an abuse technique. My own grandfather uses it. He thinks that he's an expert on everything, and then as soon as you prove him wrong, he goes, "Oh no, I didn't say that," and he's a whole other kettle of fish, to be fair. But that in itself is a problem. The fact that he says irrational and over emotional kind of gives me the impression that he's a bit of a misogynist as well. Overall, the brother-in-law just seems like an absolutely terrible person, and it seems like he definitely had this coming. I would say that the fact that he's avoiding her like the plague is a blessing in disguise, and the fact that he's still sulking and avoiding her after this whole incident happened over a year ago, which means that his ego, while massive, is also very fragile. I guess it's like a bubble that, like, the more you blow it, the thinner the veil gets. Like, he had it all coming himself. I would say that she should just refuse to apologize, rather, and be happy with the fact that she doesn't have to deal with him anymore. It seems great. So that's it for r/am I the arsehole. I want to know what you think. Did you think that the people in these stories were arseholes, or did you think that there's a little bit more that we're not hearing about? Please let me know if you enjoyed listening to this subreddit, and do let me know if you would like to hear any other subreddits being spoken about, and I will see you all next time.